How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So glad each and every one of you can make it. There's a reason I'm sitting in this car, and let's talk about it. Again, welcome back to the channel, everybody. So glad each and every one of you can make it. It's been a minute, I know. But let me get to the point of this video, and it starts and stops with this car. My channel was created around this car, accidentally. I never intended to do a YouTube channel. But when I bought this car, being a 2012 2SS Camaro, it came with one key. I wanted another key in case, you know, I go to a car show, I lose it at work, somebody steals my key for whatever reason. For whatever reason, I wanted to have a backup. You know, I called the wife, say, hey, babe, you know, how about bringing me the spare key? I don't know where mine's at. And then wait for the, well, what'd you do with your key? When she gets there, you know how that would be. So, you know, you have to kind of build up, wait on that to come. But thank God it never has. But anyhow, I wanted a spare key. And I'm going to preface, but it's really preface, the rest of this story by saying, I am in no way, shape, or form saying do not buy from this company. I am no way saying don't give them any business, harass them, or anything like that. I am not saying that. Because I don't call out names for companies per se, because the simple fact is any company can have one bad employee at the time that one person shows up, like when I went to get my key. Okay, so I don't hold it against the company per se, but there's been a pattern. This is the third time that I've actually dealt with this particular place, and I'll name it here in just a second. The first time when I wanted my key, the second time when I was looking to purchase another car, and the third time when I was looking to get another car, okay? So, here we go. Rick Hendrick Chevrolet in Monroe, North Carolina. Now, the one in Charlotte, North Carolina, I've been up there plenty of times, and I have never had any issues there. But the one in Monroe, when I went to get my key, I walked in, they said, yep, we can do that for you, sir. Let me get your name, your number, and all that stuff. When would you like to drop it off? I'm like, drop it off? What do you mean drop it off? Oh, we have to keep it overnight. That way it could be programmed to the car. And it's going to cost you $265. What? It's going to cost $200 and what? I don't think so. Not me. Because I'd already been looking around, and I knew that it wasn't that difficult. I didn't know the process yet, because there wasn't any videos on YouTube per se. There was some about the cruises and stuff like that. So this being also a GM product, I knew that it should be similar. So I called up the other Rick Hendrick Chevrolet, the one in Charlotte, which happens to be City Chevrolet. And they were more than helpful. He's like, yes, sir. Come on in. I'll give you the key, and I'll tell you how to program it. $65 out the door. $65. The other place was trying to charge me $265. They were trying to rip me out of $200. Unbelievable. Now, I made a video about that, and I didn't, and that was my first video when I told how to program it the first time. And then, you know, I found out there's multiple ways to do it, you know, so on and so forth. So if you're interested in any of those videos, by all means, check it out. I've got 4 different videos, I think. The first way, the second way, the third way, and then I did a video where I combined all 3 of them. And, you know, it's just, so I had a bad experience then. I swore I'd never go back. So then I was looking around. And it was time for me to, I basically made up my mind I wanted another vehicle. I wanted to keep this one, but I wanted another vehicle. I had the cash to make a huge down payment. I mean, on a brand new car, I was putting down half the car right off the bat. That way the payments would be low. So I was, it wasn't no $10,000 or $20,000 car either. It was up there. Let's just say vet style. I was looking at one. I was going to put half down up front. So I went by the bank, had all the money in my pocket and everything, you know. Told them what I was going to do. That way there would be no problem with them reporting to the Internal Revenue Service. Whenever you take out $9,999, they don't say anything. But once you go $10,000 or $10,000 and 1 penny, they report it to the Internal Revenue Service. Why does anybody need more than $10,000 walking on the street? That's how they look at it. And where did they get it? So anyhow, I walked in this place. Well, first I walked around and looked at the cars. And I was probably there 20 minutes just looking at the cars. Nobody come out. Nobody. So then I walked inside. I walked around. I made eye contact with the receptionist. She didn't say anything. Walked over to one area where there was a salesman sitting. He was on the phone. He looked up at me, didn't say hi, didn't nod, didn't anything. We made eye contact. And then I made eye contact with 3 other salesmen that were doing absolutely nothing. Just standing there. Not a hello, not a anything. So finally I said, okay. I walked back up to the receptionist and I stood there. She finally said, yes sir, can I help you? So I took out the cash, laid it on the counter. I said, you know, it's funny, I've got cash right here to buy a car with, and not a single person has offered to help me. You should have seen how many people was following me back out to the car when I was going to leave. It was like gnats to a banana that's been left outside for 2 days. Good Lord have mercy. So that brings me up to the 3rd time, which was just this past weekend. My Tahoe, you know, you guys have been following my channel for a while, know that I have a 2007 Tahoe LT. I absolutely love the thing, but I have put a lot of miles on this. I mean, a lot of miles. And it's got a couple things wrong with it, and you know, I don't mind being transparent. I'll go ahead and tell you. One of the rear wheel bearings has started roaring, so I know I need to get that replaced. So I started saving up some money so I could put it in the shop, because I know it's going to be anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 to do that. Even though I could probably do it myself, you know, it's just rear ends. I'm not scared of it or anything. I just don't want to mess with it, even though it's not that difficult, you know. But yeah, and so I started saving up on that. Then the window, the back passenger window regulator, the cable in it broke. So then the window wanted to stay down all the time, so I had to fix it to where it'd stay up. Well, that's $150, no problem. I said, well, I'll get that first, then I'll do the rear end, and everything will be okie dokie. So I'm on the way to work one morning, and then the transmission quits pulling. I mean, I'm right here at the house, give it gas to go through the red light, and it takes off, and then all of a sudden it's just like it lets go. And it makes this loud. I'm like, what in the world? It sounded like I done slung a rod out the side of the car and it was just hitting metal. So, luckily, I get to the other side of the bridge. There's nothing coming. The light's red, so I just run the red light because I've got momentum. I'll pull it over on the side of the road, walk back home, and you know, get it home. Well, I was able to feather the gas and it would just barely pull. Now, I didn't make that noise like crazy, but it would still barely pull. So I got it home, got it put up, got in the other car, went to work, and I said I'll look at it when I get back home. So in my mind, I'm thinking it's a transmission. Well, now that I've had more time to think about it, I think that it might just be the torque converter. That's what I'm thinking. Because I can go over there now and crank it up, and it won't make that noise. If it does, it's real light. But the second I put it in gear and give it gas, it'll try to pull and then just lets go again like it did up there at the bridge. And it'll make that noise real loud again. So I'm thinking that it's the torque converter. It's either that or the pump inside the transmission, but I think it's the torque converter. So, but before I rationalize that, I'm thinking, dang, I gotta get a transmission now. So to rebuild that bedboard, to take that car, that Tahoe, and then to rebuild it is $2,600 for a rebuild. I can get one out of the junkyard for $16 and some change. That's a lot of money. If I take the transmission out myself, it's 16 to 18, depending on what they find wrong with it. So, you know, I'm running all these numbers through my head, and then it just hit me about the way the transmission did. So, torque converter is only 200 bucks. So, what way do you think I'm gonna go? I'm gonna try to do it. But anyhow, I got in, you know, I got to thinking, and you know, you try to be responsible with your money and everything. And this is gonna be kind of a long video. You know, I'll try to keep it at 15 or maybe, you know, somewhere around there. But anyhow, so I got to thinking, well, this car is 2012. It's got all the options. I'm just at 49,025 miles on the odometer. So this thing is pristine, okay? I mean, it's pristine. Got a few little rock chips on the front, but, you know, I can get that taken care of. So this is, the black car is not going anywhere. That joker is definitely something. So this car is my equity line. You know, like when you have your house, if it's paid off, you could take out a loan on that and use your house as the equity line for the loan or the collateral. Equity line, collateral, anyhow. So my money is in this car. This is where everything is. So I'm like, well, let me go see how much they'll give me. So I went to CarMax, and then I went to online to that givemethevin.com, where they say they'll beat CarMax or they'll give you $100, and I knew what they were going to do. So I'll go ahead and give it to you. And this is tying in everything. It's the way the world is right now. And I think it's because of the third thing I'm going to tell you. So I send him the VIN so he can give me a quote on my car. It's actually less than CarMax. So then I give him the CarMax picture of the quote they gave me. Well, then he came back at $169 more than that. But during all this time, I had contacted Carvana and gave them the VIN and everything, and they were actually offering me $1,200 more than CarMax. Yes, Carvana was actually offering more than CarMax. And so I showed that to give me the VIN, and they're like, hey, I can't do nothing with that, because everybody wants to go with market value. So I know what my car is worth as a trade-in now because of the market value, because all these places are going to do is turn around and resell it. So there's got to be markup for them, and I understand that. I've got nothing against that. You know, nobody was trying to rip me off. They were giving me a fair price. I will say that CarMax and everybody was giving me a fair price, because we're talking about a 12-year-old car now. This is 2024. We're talking about a 12-year-old car, and they were giving me a very, very fair price. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to ride around and see what's out there. But before I did, I wanted to know where I was going. So I looked up some cars online that I was looking for. My wife always said she wanted a Grand Cherokee or something like that, because I was looking at, if I could trade this, I'll sell the Tahoe because it has a lot of miles on it as is, you know, just for a few grand and be done on that, and then I'll have the black car still. So I looked up City Chevrolet in Charlotte, seen the cars that they said they had, and had to go to Charlotte the next day anyway for something for the wife. So I'm like, well, let's just ride by there while we're out. Drove through the lot. None of these cars were there. Matter of fact, about all they had on the lot was brand new cars. I'm like, wow, what the heck? And then we didn't get much sleep the night before, so we just like, well, let's just go on back home. We'll check on it later. So then I was like, well, you know, sitting at home, I'm like, well, let me see what the places in Monroe have. So I pulled up the Chevrolet place there, put in what I was looking for, and they were showing the same exact pictures for City Chevrolet. So I'm like, did I look at the wrong thing? So I told the wife, I said, I'm just going to ride down there. So she's like, well, let's go. And we'll go by Olive Garden and get us something to eat while we're out. I'm like, can't argue with that. Go look at new cars with your loved one and going out to eat good food. Hot dig. That's perfect scheme. Except for the first part, the car lots. You know how they do. So I go in. I tell the guy I've got somewhere I got to go, because I do. I'm going out to eat with my wife. I don't have all day. You look at my car And where are these cars at? Well, this is where the new thing comes in that I found out. And I didn't know it was like this. It's been a minute since I bought a car. Okay. I'm used to going up, riding down the road, and if I see something I like, pulling in, talking to them, or deliberately looking for the type of car, and then I go where it is and it's there, you know, and I look at it, drive it. So I go in, young guy comes over and he's helping me. Ooh, 15, so it's gonna be about 20. So I go in, young guy's talking to me and everything. I tell him what I'm looking for. Where are these cars at? Well, sir, see, what we do is, I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. We share our inventory amongst all of his dealerships. And if there's one somewhere that you know you like, you can start the application online and have it shipped here, or we can have it shipped here. I'm like, okay, tell me where the cars are. So I give him the stock numbers. And while I'm giving him the stock numbers, he's over there acting like he's writing them down and everything, which I'm going to give him props. I'll say he did it. You know, I'm not going to say he's dishonest, you know. So he's over there writing them down, but he's also asking me, what's a good phone number for you? What's your email? You know, all the typical stuff. You looking to finance? Or so I tell him, look, I know what my car's worth. I'm going to write down a number on this piece of paper, and I turned it over where he couldn't see it. Whenever you guys give me a quote on my car, it will be this number on this piece of paper. So I put it over to the side and I set my phone on it. Sure as the world, they do the old bait and switch. Because, well, while he's supposedly looking up, he goes and gets the photographs and everything of my cars and have them start to give me an appraisal on it. So then the woman comes in. I think she was like an assistant manager or something like that, assistant sales manager. Sir, what is it you're actually looking for? You looking to finance? You looking to buy outright? Or you looking to trade with no money out of pocket? You know, yada, yada, yada. I said, look, I don't have all day for this. I know what my car's worth. I know what you're going to offer me for it. The cars that I am looking at are just enough below it to cover the sales taxes and all that stuff. So you won't owe me and I won't owe you. Okay, well, let me ask you this, if we have something that's comparable, would you be interested? I'm like, that's when it hit me. They never intended to even show me the other cars. They have something they want to get rid of and they want to try to stick me in it. Like, you know how they do your first time buyers or people that don't have money, or we'll get back to that in a minute. So I'm like, well, if you have something like I am looking for, and it is in the price range that I am looking at, I will look at it. Because like I said, I'm looking at the Jeep Grand Cherokees, not new. I'm looking at some used ones. I don't ever want to buy another new car. I'm looking at that stuff. Turn these headlights off. And I'm looking at some other stuff. A couple of Buicks I was looking at, and a Lincoln I was looking at. So anyhow, so they come around with a freaking Hyundai Tucson. A Hyundai Tucson, which has a 4-cylinder in it. No turbo, no nothing, a 4-cylinder. Now that's a nice ride. I said, well, let's just take it for a ride and let them finish working out the deal and everything. So I picked up the piece of paper with my phone, put the piece of paper in my pocket, and we drove off, okay? Riding around the block, just checking it out, killing time to see what kind of deal they're going. Because by now my wife had done come in. I told her to come in. And we drove it around, like I said, 4-cylinder. It was a dog. It was a nice car. Don't get me wrong. It was a nice car for what it was, but it had no power whatsoever. So we get back, as we're coming back around, he's like, yeah, he says, yeah. My wife was asked him something. And he's like, yeah, you know, you're in good shape. You should actually get some back. I'm like, really? I said, what are they asking for this car? Oh, it's right there. It's your car. But, you know, your car's a lower mileage and everything. And it's actually, you should come out good on it. Okay, well, how much is my car worth? Sir, I don't know. They'll discuss that with you when we get back. And I'm trying to get this taken care of. 20 minutes. We'll get this taken care of real quick. We're at the end. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you the full experience. So you'll know what to watch out for when you're out there. Because this is the new way of life in the car market. And I think it's because of Carvana. You know, you look at the car online, they ship it to you, and there's $290 charge to get a car shipped to you. Did you know that? If you're buying that car, they're going to charge you $290 to get it to you. But anyhow, you know, you don't get to test drive them. You don't get that butt feel in the seat. You don't get to smell it. You don't get that experience when you buy a car. So we get back. My wife sits down. I sit down. I take out the piece of paper because I see them walking with a piece of paper, and I flip it over to where you can see what number I wrote down. So then they come in there, and the salesman comes in, and he's got a piece of paper, and he looks down and sees that piece of paper. And I turn it toward him so he can make it out. And he looks at the paper that he had. He was like, how in the world did you know that? Because I was to the penny of what they was going to offer me. I told you, dude, I already know. So anyway, he sets the paper down, and I look down and I see balance, $3,340 something. My wife looks at it and she's like, so is this what y'all giving us? $3,300? He's like, no, that's what you owe us. My wife picked up a piece of paper, folded it in half. We stood up and said, thank you, but no thank you. I shook his hand and we started walking out. We got halfway out of the car, and the sales manager, who I hadn't even seen yet, the actual guy in the booth, came out. And he's like, sir, what are you doing? I'm like, no. My wife said, no, this just isn't going to work. It's not a car that we're actually wanting anyway. We was just looking at it because it was newer and had, you know, it's a newer car. And, you know, that's the only reason. And he's like, well, I mean, what do you think your car's worth? Because, you know, what I saw, and they were, come to find out, they were wanting $2,000 and something more for the Tucson than I was wanting for they were going to offer me for my car. So, long story, getting longer, trying to make it shorter. They sat there and told my wife, we'll work something out. And I'm like, nah, we're just too far away. Then my wife said something else, and I'm sorry, but I don't remember what the exact words she said. It was like, well, we ain't sold nothing today anyway. I feel like doing something crazy. When he said that, oh, no. My wife looked at him and said, no, what would be crazy is for us to trade that car for that car. So we said thank you and got in the car, left, went and got our Olive Garden dinner, and it was delicious, let me tell you. But with that being stated, I just wanted to put this video out there because, like I said, this is the third time that I've been to Hendrick Chevrolet in Monroe. The one in Charlotte, I have never ever had an issue, and I'm sorry it's getting dark in here. I have never ever had a single issue there. They've always been more than polite and helpful. But this one in Monroe, I will never go there again personally. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying I will never go there personally unless it's Sunday and I'm just out there making a video. Because the way they have treated me 3 times now is just ridiculous. But anyhow, I wanted to put it out there because it seems that that's the way a lot of car dealerships are going now. Especially the big ones with big names like Rick Hendrick. Because, you know, Rick Hendrick owns race teams. He owns multiple car lots. Like I could tell you right now, Charlotte, he owns, gosh, Rick Hendrick Mini. He owns Rick Hendrick Honda. He owns Rick Hendrick Imports, Rick Hendrick Lexus, Rick Hendrick Mercedes. And I think he owns a Porsche dealership too. I might be wrong. But then he owns that one in Monroe also, like I'm saying. And, oh, man. That fella owns a lot of cars, let me tell you. But I'm going to get off here and let you know. I just want to let you know that that's the way that it seems that the market is going. Like I said, Carvana has brought this, I believe. Carvana is the one that has brought this in, because who would have ever thought sitting at home, ordering a car online, then bringing it out, taking your old car away, and you never having to leave the house? Who would have ever thought? So now these dealerships are doing the same thing, or at least this one is doing the same thing, but it gets you to feel like you're being baited and then switched, because yeah, we've got those cars, but they're not here. So hey, I know we've got this one around back that you might be interested in. Yeah, let me show it to you. So they've already got you hooked by getting you in the parking lot. Then they want to take you for the test drive without telling you any of the deals, any of the numbers. Then they want to make you wait while they do the paperwork and the appraisal and all that good stuff. And like I said, it's like being a first-time buyer or somebody that just doesn't have the money. You know, they think that they can get you in there and keep you pressured, because here's the deal breaker. We actually told the guy when we were standing there, after he told the wife he would do something crazy. So I looked at him and I said, so you're willing to get rid of that $3,000 difference? He looked at me and said, if you take the car today, if we do this deal right now. No, I'm not a new car buyer. I've got money and I don't have to have a car. So you're not going to use your pressure tactics to get me all worked up to think that I have to do this, or there's no way I can get a car. No, I've got 3 cars. No, that doesn't work like that on everybody. Sorry. So we left, and the salesman has sent me a couple messages, and I told him, look, we're done. That deal is done. We've moved on. Thank you for your help, but I appreciate it, but no, we're done. So with that being stated, I'm going to get off here. Hope you enjoyed this 30-minute video that I didn't think it would take that long to tell you a story, but it's been a minute. I missed you guys, and I just want to talk a minute. So until next time, you know what I say, right? Your car, get out there and enjoy it. You paid for it. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what anybody says about it. Have fun. And we'll see you in the next video.